another X-Men 97 breakdown with me, Wheels. Tonight we're going to be talking all about episode 3, which is Rise of Apocalypse Part 1. Now, also before I jump into things, I'll say hello to people in the chat. As usual, I can see the chat, but I can't see the number of people around. So if you're here and you haven't said hello already, make sure to say hello so I know that you're here. Hi Nick, I can see that you've been on the ball. You've been here for a while. Apologies that I'm so late. Just had some work sort of things to do, and so that's why I'm a bit late. Haven't really had dinner, but it's okay. I can have that afterwards. But I hope everyone's doing well. I can see James, you're here, James Abel, you're here as well, and Logan Wayne, you're here as well. Hey everyone, hope everyone is good. Nick, you've sort of said it myself. This episode was good, but playing after the Exodus episode, it was an uphill battle. Yeah, I think off the bat, I feel like as we were all in agreement last night about episode 2, I feel like it's going to be the same tonight. That we have sort of enjoyed the episode. There's things we like about it, but it's not going to be as strong. It's not as strong an episode. I would say as well, if there are any issues with the mic or any issues with the quality, please let me know so I can then fix them out. I've kept my kept the volume level the same as I did yesterday, so fingers crossed it's loud enough for everyone, but let me know otherwise. Actually, before we start though, have a fun little thing that I did not expect. So obviously live in the UK, so half the time I don't expect things to, if they're happening in America, I don't expect them to happen here. But I don't know if people have seen, but there's a restaurant chain called Dave's Hot Chicken that is doing like an X-Men 97 season 2 like merch brand thing. And yeah, and there's recently been a Dave's Hot Chicken opened in the city where I live. I assumed, and I even got an email from Dave's Hot Chicken, like their marketing thing, to be like, "Oh, you know, you can go to your local branch early and get this X-Men. There's like an X-Men meal, right?" And I thought, "Oh no, it's not going to be in the UK." But my partner went and got food earlier. Turns out the X-Men meal does actually exist in the UK. So he ended up getting that. So, oh, that one's, the standard's already fallen off. Great. But before we start, I haven't, time for a food review. James, I haven't even eaten the food. The food is right there, but I haven't had a chance to eat the food. So I will give you a food review for the next thing. I had a few of the chips, or the fries. They were all right. The chicken was all right. So anyway, here we have this Cyclops figure. Hopefully people can, there we go, focus on that, in his like Wasteland X Factor uniform. So that's one. And then hopefully, oh, is he gonna stay stood? Nope. He did. The other one that we have, because obviously we've got 2 meals, is Storm. I'm so excited about this one. We got this Storm figure. Why is it not focusing? There we go. Beautiful, beautiful. Super expensive, I will say, Nick. I think the cost for the for two meals was like £25, which is crazy, crazy. But it's got those two. Partner said though that they didn't let, like, once you got once you got got given a bag with one of the, because they're in a bag. Once you get given one, you can't like swap it. So, because I was thinking, oh, we've got 2, right? We just need 2 more and we can get the other 2. Maybe that's not going to happen. Like, I would hate to like get another meal and then get a duplicate. So I don't know whether I don't know whether I'm gonna risk it again. But turns out, for um, all the British people out there, Logan, it is a thing. So I don't know, you know, if there's a Dave's Chicken near to you at all, but yeah. You can get the X meal, and now I'm like, oh, I could have gotten them sooner, could have had more prepared, but there you go. So a fun little fun little addition to the opening of this episode, opening of this breakdown, is that um, you get a toy review as well. I can't review the food as I said, but maybe next week. So that was just the opening. Um, they seem cool. I can't remember. I think the other two are Wolverine and Jean. So yeah, all fun, all good. Let me go through some of the comments, and then we'll start with the breakdown itself. Hope everyone's doing good though. So Nick, you're dying from the heat. 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it has been very hot here. I believe it's currently like, I don't know. I mean, 22 degrees Celsius doesn't sound that hot, but like last week it was 35. And let me tell you, while that heat while on tour is not, don't recommend that. Lou, you're saying I was hoping to get Storm and Wolverine, but I'll settle for a Roro. That is Storm. I think he means Cyclops, but that's okay. Jade Rabbit, hi. I like seeing the 3 episodes. I do wish we lived with the clan Ascani longer. Agreed. I'm hoping we'll get some. We will return to that feature at some point, because like there's so much more to dive in. There's so much more to dive in there, including like Strife. Like I'm curious whether we'll see Strife at all this season. I feel like it'd be kind of a wasted opportunity, at least to like tease him or something. But there we go. But there we go. Aren't they blind bags? Yes, Nick, they are blind bags. But with all blind bags, you can always like have a feel of them and see if they see if you can like figure out what they are, which my partner loves to do. But they wouldn't let him swap. So, but I'm not mad with Cyclops and Storm. Would love to have all 4 though, just the collector in me. And talking about other things. I wish I could have been here for episode 2, but I haven't watched it yet. Saw it last night, and I was freaking out in the best way. Yes, Logan, I know that episode 2 was like the best, and we all in the chat were in agreement that it was the best episode. Sorry that you missed it, but it's okay if you want to rewatch it. It is there still to rewatch. But yeah, the best episode was episode 2. I think we all agreed on that. Hopefully, there'll be more episodes that are on that caliber, or even try to surpass that. We'll see. We'll see. But with that out the way, I'm glad you're all here. I'm surprised that so many of you are here, considering how late it is. Again, sorry it's so late. But with that, we will start with the breakdown. So as usual, I've got screenshots of the episode, and we're just going to go with the screenshots. That's the thing that keeps me on track. So we will start at the beginning, which is the future X-Men in the present. They're back in the present. Forge is basically telling them all about how, Bishop and the team aren't there, and they should be, because they agreed to meet back at this particular time. And because of time travel, people could return to the present at any point. So really, if they sorted things out, they should be back, and they're not. But there's nothing they can really do about it, because there's no way to track them or something like that. So they just sort of have to sit there and wait, which is a bit bad for them, I suppose. But it doesn't take too long before we get to find out what the past X-Men, or the X-Men in the past, have been up to. So we go straight to 3000 BCE. Yes, obviously this was where the team were dropped off at the end of season 1. And the first thing we see is Apocalypse, En Sabana, because he's not Apocalypse yet. En Sabana and Magneto together. Now, I really think it was such an interesting. I think it makes sense as well, but really interesting choice to have Magneto try and be a mentor to En Sabana, and really try and guide him, and having this conversation about pressers, and this really like deep conversation, and essentially because En Sabano grew up as a slave, So he's all about freeing the slaves. Very, very Daenerys core, very Breaker of Chains sort of feeling going on here. But yeah, Magneto has become sort of like a mentor, a mentor to N7, which is crazy when you think about it, considering this is 5,000, yes, 5,000 years before like Magneto even exists. So that's sort of where they're at, and I'm assuming they've been there now for a few months. Um, we then also see that, of course, at this point in time, the uh, sort of, I suppose, the leader of Egypt is a pharaoh, is um, Ramatut, who I think it might be common knowledge at this point. He isn't just any normal pharaoh. This is actually uh, a variant of Kang. It's a version of Kang from like the year 3000 AD, or the 30th century, and he came back. I think in the comics, because I did read the original. I did read because he appeared in Fantastic Four issue 19, so way back in 1963, and he had come back to the past because there was a he'd gone blind or something, and there was a particular plant that was able to cure it. I think that's something along those lines. And anyway, the Fantastic Four also time to go back into the past because they're trying to help Alicia Masters out, and they end up fighting Ramatut instead. And then when they find the thing, they time travel back, but then it doesn't work because of the time travel. So that's really it. So yes, this Ramatut here is actually Kang the Conqueror, or a version of Kang the Conqueror. As we discussed last episode, time travel is very confusing. This is the extent of my Kang time travel knowledge. So yeah, so Kang is like the pharaoh of Egypt at this point. We also get the background here, a very interesting woman. Now, I will say, initially when I watched the episode, and this is before I thought about the original show, I actually thought, oh no, wrong, wrong one. I thought this was going to be Nefri, who appears in the Rise of Apocalypse miniseries from 1996, which is what this episode is sort of based on. It was like the Apocalypse's origin story. And Nefri is the sister to Ozymandias, who is also from this point in time. He doesn't appear in this episode. I mean, I think it would have made sense if he did, but essentially, from what I remember, Ozymandias was Ozymandias and his sister were the original royals, but then Ramatut turned up and like took over as the pharaoh. Um, but Nefri sort of has this kind of relationship with Apocalypse. She sort of notices him and like tries to save him, but then she's like and like Apocalypse sort of falls for her because she's really beautiful, but she sees his face and is disgusted. But then he goes and rescues her, and then she's disgusted again by who he becomes, etc., etc. So I kind of thought that was who she was going to be. They have a similar look, similar color scheme. So I thought who that was going to be was Nefri. However, as I kind of spoil, um, this is actually the external Chandra of all people. Yes, because the um, original show, in the original show, this woman in the background, she appeared in a particular issue, not a particular episode about the Thieves Guild, about Gambit. I'm not gonna be able to tell you what episode it was, and she just appeared as the external. Now in the comics, um, Kandra was the benefactor of both the Thieves Guild and the Assassins Guild, and she has like set them all up and like, oh, if you do this for me, you get eternal life, and if you, which is the Thieves Guild, and then the Assassins Guild get powers. But in the show, she originally was just referred to as the external. Now, in this episode, and if you look back at the original show, it's the same design, a bit cleaned up. But in the credits for this episode, she is referred to as Kandra, so 100% the same person, which is fun. Interesting though, because obviously Kandra and Apocalypse are both externals, which is the group of mutants who are immortal, for lack of a better word. They are like connected to each other, and um like they just live forever, so they can't die. Um And so there's other ones. I mean, the only other famous ones are Selene, the original First Mutant, and we'll get. I mean, I don't know if we'll get to it, but they kept saying, "Apocalypse, you're the first mutant. You're the first mutant." No, he's not. Selene is the first mutant, which I think it would have been cooler if Selene was like this external, but it is what it is. It's funny though because Kandra, I believe, or what was hinted at in the more recent Excalibur stuff, because Kandra is essentially like this 90s. She's mainly a 90s villain, and oh, my hair's getting in my eyes. Mainly a 90s villain. She's the benefactor of the Assassin's Guild and the Thieves Guild, and she kind of she did have a romance with Gambit in the past because of time travel. Um, but yeah, she just is a more mischievous one, but I think she's also the youngest. So the fact that she's alive here kind of like throws that away. Um, but yeah, so interesting there. Um, Also, Kaiser famously made her heart put her like soul into a gem because that was the only thing that could kill an external. So she put that into that, but then she also got killed along with the rest of the uh, fake, all the rest of the boring externals just before Ten of Swords. So yeah, this is Kandra and Kandra here are the same person, even though they look completely different. Um, so yeah, but interesting to have her be here. I guess maybe we'll see more of the externals. Maybe that'd be crazy. But yeah, I see there's so many comments, so I'm gonna just go back through them and we'll talk about that. Was freaking about Eric mentoring her. The shenanigans are unfathomable. Yeah, and you know what? Um, Eric had had a dream, had ambition. I respect his his drive and resilience that he could change things. Wasn't a huge Ramatut fan. Immortus is best with Kang next. You know, I'm just really Kang agnostic or apathetic. Like I just don't know the first thing about Kang, to be fair. And all the different ones, like Immortus is good, but also not the best. And there's also like Iron Land is also a Kang. Yeah, Kang can be very confusing with his timelines. Confusing his timeline is a mess. Yeah. Ooh, didn't know Ozymandias had a sister. Do you recall the issues I can read about her? Nick, if you're meaning Nefri, then I think her only appearances are in Rise of Apocalypse, 4-issue miniseries from 1996, which is, as I said, the origin of Apocalypse. I think those are the only issues where you can read about her. So yeah. Also somehow tied to Storm's red gem on her costume, or am I mixing cartoon and comics? No, I believe the red gem is to do with Kandra in the comics, because Storm and her had this whole beef as well. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it is in the comics. Logan, I recognize Kandra, but for the life of me, I couldn't remember her name or purpose in the comics. Wait, she is? When did that retcon happen? Logan Wayne, what retcon are we on about? Were we on about Gambit and Kandra being exes or another thing? Did they finally get off for the name what is the first mutant kick? I guess so. I mean, it's not like he was ever the first mutant. But I guess so. I mean, I still feel like Salander, Celine deserves some justice, but there we go. So yeah, that's really the first thing I wanted to point out. Celine being the first mutant. Oh, yeah, Celine's been the first mutant for forever. Well, not forever, since Necrotia, where it literally says she was born 17,000 years ago. and obviously Apocalypse was born 5,000 years ago. So she is older than him by like 12,000 years. But yeah, literally in Necrotia, she was born, yeah, in the 12,000, not 12,000, 15,000 BC or whatever, what have you. So yeah, she's been the first mutant for at least 15 years. So yeah, I suppose it is a retcon, but XO97 has had long enough to know that. But there we go. So yeah, Kandra's there. I don't know what for. Maybe I'm sure we'll see in part two. But then we have a bit of because Magneto is watching, overlooking Ensabanur and the Sandstormers, which is sort of Ensabanur and his adopted father Bal's army, and Charles is like, you're foolish for thinking that you can help Ensabanur. You're foolish for thinking we can redeem him. Like, that is Apocalypse. That is our number one enemy. He is the breaker of everything and whatnot. He's just pure destruction. Like, Charles has no faith, which is kind of crazy for someone who loves to be like, oh yes, you're a mutant in need. Well, I can use you for my purposes and make you a good guy. See Wolverine, see Rogue, see Gambit, etc., etc., etc. So, kind of a bit. I mean, I get where he's coming from, and I guess ultimately he's right. But like, give Magneto a chance. Give Magneto a chance to cook, and work his magic. But there we are. I also, at this point, I was under the impression that maybe like Apocalypse had forgotten about the others, but no, he hadn't. Breaker of worlds, Lord of destruction. Brilliant. Thank you, Logan. I needed that. Yeah. So then we get Ensabanur leading the Sandstormers, and he has a chant where they go, "Survival of the fittest, survival of the fittest." So, and it's made very clear that that sort of mentality has been really driven into him from his father Baal. Um, so yeah, so they sort of are all ready to storm one of Ramatut's fortresses. I'm not actually sure, or like it's the outer edges of Cairo. I don't actually like whatever this city is. They're like on the outer edge, and they're gonna try and free the slaves that are in there. And in this little section, there is a man known as Logus, who is like, I guess, one of Ramatut's like lower, not henchman, but like right hand man ish. And he's overseeing the slaves, and they've just built a Ramatut statue. So, you know, bad vibes, bad vibes. Very interesting though, in the Rise of Apocalypse comic, Logos isn't actually a bad guy, I don't think. I skimmed through it earlier just so I was up to date, but he's not a bad guy in that, which is interesting. Change there. Then when they sort of lead the charge, obviously because Ramatut's from the future, he's got a bunch of future technology, including a bunch of like robots, and it's kind of really creepy the way they like climb out the sand and like drag down all the horses. So basically the Sandstormers are pretty easily, like Apocalypse is left to himself, and he takes them on like sort of single-handedly, but then gets sort of overwhelmed to the point where his eyes glow red with power, I suppose. Rage, I don't know. And he literally is crushed underneath a mountain of these robots, but he manages to break free, and he single-handedly breaks into the first doorway, I suppose. Trying to remember that. Ah, yes. Breaks through the first doorway, and it's him versus a bunch of people. Now he has yeah, this is another great action scene again. As I've said each time, I think the action in these in these episodes has been incredible. Like, if there's one thing that you can count on X-Men 97 getting right, it is the action. So he's single-handedly taking on all these robots and all these henchmen of Ramatut. They've all got laser guns because it is um, it is 3000 BC, but also Ramatut's Egypt. So they've all got this technology. He easily brushes that off, and then they come in. Well, Logus, the like head guy, is on this giant elephant mammoth, like massive elephant. But Apocalypse single-handedly grabs it, and I thought you were just going to tip him over, but no, he decides to swing this elephant around and around and around and around, basically creating an elephant tornado and then throwing the elephant. Now, poor elephant, this isn't, we're not here to, um, I don't condone animal abuse, but it was a cool moment. This is a fictional elephant being used by evil people, so you know. But yeah, very cool moment that he was strong enough to single-handedly create an elephant tornado. Um, and then with Logos on then with Logos on the ground, Apocalypse Summoner is about to take off his head as what Baal wants him to do. Because obviously survival of the fittest. If you're not fit, you're dead. So he's about to, but obviously Magneto, his mentor, has been surveying the entire situation and he's looking above. He's hovering from above, as you can see in that shot. And Ensabrina looks up to his mentor, and obviously Magneto doesn't want him to kill. He wants him to be better. So Ensabrina follows and actually doesn't kill the guy, and instead is like, no, we keep him alive so we can ask him some questions. So, all is not lost for Ensabana. All is not lost. There is some hope, we can get a better Ensabana. Then we get to see the rest of the X-Men. So we got Rogue, who is in this orange tunic, which is based off of one of her outfits from the 80s. She only wore it for a few issues. I want to say around Uncanny X-Men 183. I think this is the outfit she's wearing, funnily enough, when Storm gets depowered. It's an interesting one. I must say that. We've also got Beast and Nightcrawler. They are what they have been doing with all of these battles that Summoner has been leading against Ramatut's forces. They've been taking the robots after they've sort of finished, and Beast has been trying to, use the technology to recreate a sort of time travel device, use the energy to create that. But so far they've been obviously unsuccessful. Also, it's interesting to note that this is a secret. This is a secret from Antawana. He doesn't know they've got ulterior motives. He doesn't know that they're from the future. He doesn't know none of that, right? And this is a shot from when Ansabana comes in. He's like, greetings, my friends. This is a win for and it's so jarring in that way of like, my God, all these people know that Apocalypse is like truly evil, like evil incarnate to a level. And he's just like being best buddies with them all, which is fun. And he's like, oh yeah, this is a win for all of us mutants. And like Magneto has really had this conversation with him about how he can be better, and he can he's not meant to conquer the world as his father Baal has taught him, but more to save the world and sort of lead humanity to be better. That's what Magneto has been telling him. So really, the like everything Magneto had learned in season one he didn't forget that, clearly. Like, even though in the very end he was kind of like deaf to them all, clearly his time in the past has made him retry that again, which is fun. But there. And as we see here, Bal is there too, and they completely disagree because Bal wants him to chop Logos's head off, and Magneto's still like, no, we need to get information from him, because right, this is it as well. They want information from Magneto wants information from Logos because they want to find out how to use the technology to create the time travel device, because it's just not enough. They want to find out how it works so that they can figure out a way to create the time travel device. And that's sort of like, so Apocalypse's two dads are fighting, but he really has sided with Magneto at this point. Let me just catch up on the comments as well. Robots in Egypt, what? Yeah, again, I think that's just a Kang thing. Do not know how that kind of crazy how that hasn't had major ramifications on the Marvel universe, but maybe it has, and that's why we're where we are. A literal elephant in the room. Couldn't have said it better myself, Logan. Um, no, it was funny. Okay, I'm correct on the uncanny issue. Yes, orange isn't really a color, but I appreciate a little change up. Yeah. No, I just remember that there's a cover of her like standing in the way of getting shot, and the bullets are bouncing off. But yeah, two dads. No, it is true. It's like his two dads, and you know, um, Bal hates Magneto, and I think Magneto hates Bal, but an Apocalypse just has to choose, I suppose. Um, so then there is a bit in between where they have a conversation. Magneto has a conversation with Eric, and not no, not Magneto has a conversation with Charles, and Charles isn't happy because Magneto has told Apocalypse like, you are meant for more. We we know you have a destiny to like save the world, and Charles isn't happy. Anyway, we cut to a bit where Logos is getting interrogated by Apocalypse. But Logos is very good at winding N7 up because he says about how, I was your first slave master. Really, just to wind him up. And you know what? I think all slave masters should die. So I don't blame N7 for like, he's about to chop his head off. But then Magneto uses his powers to stop him. And so N7 walks out and is like, you can deal with him. So, and finally, Charles as well, through this whole thing had been like, no, I'm not using my powers to read his mind, Logos's mind, because that could, change the timeline. And it's like, you can, I think that was such a terrible excuse. Terrible excuse. Like, you could read his mind and then make him forget that ever happened. I don't know. You could have just done things. You've done way worse things, right? Anyway, so he finally decides to read Logos's mind so he can find out, the energy source, find where they can get an energy source that will power their time travel machine. Um, and that's when we get to the astral plane of it all. He's initially floating through some pyramids. He's trying to open some things. Then he gets this one very interesting image of like, um, originally it looks like sand, but if you pay close attention, that brown bit in the middle looks like Apocalypse's face, right? And obviously this moon, I think we all know what that looks like, right? That literally looks like this. One second. Oh, wrong thing, wrong thing. I've got many buttons to press. Is it this one? Yes. Looks like Apocalypse's Onslaught's helmet. So clearly, Onslaught is being teased here, which is very exciting. I mean, I think we all know that Onslaught is like not a good story, but then neither really was Operation Zero Tolerance, and I think they did a good job with I think they did a good job with that in the first season. So, is Onslaught on the cards? I think probably, because we've already had that moment from Fatal Attractions where Charles tries to shut down Magneto's mind, and they were like really had that moment um in the finale of season 1 where they're in Magneto's head and they almost drown in his memories or what have you, and they almost die together. So clearly, I think the stage has been set for Onslaught, and I think that this is like the biggest sign there is. So Onslaught season 3, I see the vision. But yeah, I think that's the clearest, like, it's in the shape of an Onslaught helmet, and there's even the, like, purpley red outline. It's just there. I don't know if that's, like, the moon, but yeah, very interesting foreshadowing. And that's the other thing as well. This show loves a foreshadow. Let's not forget, in the very beginning of season 1, yeah, I think it was even in the first episode, they had Jean go into Gyric's head, and we saw the wild demon sentinel, we had the Happy Nation playing, we had the rats and stuff. Like, there was all, like, even the like drawing of Bastion when he was a kid, like all the hints were in that dream sequence. So I think if there's something to pay attention to, it is to this. Um, but that's not all, because then after that, it becomes more galactic, and Charles is in space, and then this really deep voice is speaking to him. Originally, I thought this was like a future version of Apocalypse, and in my reaction, I was like, "Who? What is this? What is this?" But very interesting things. Now, obviously, this is like a black hole, but that is also looks like an eye, right? Looks like an eye. Um, and this deep voice is on about like the destruction of things. I can't remember off the top of my head. Um, and is sort of giving a glimpse of like talking about apocalypse, blah blah blah. And now this is revealed in the credits of the episode. This is the person. I think it's the same person that voices Magneto, or someone voices this character that also voices someone else. But in the credits, they're referred to as so and so slash Eason. Eason, Eson, right? Eason, I'm gonna say. Now, Eason is important because that is the name of a celestial. Now, I should have gotten an image of a celestial just so we all know what a celestial looks like, but it's essentially those giant creatures that Jack Kirby created, and they've got like weird lines in their faces, and they're like either red or gold. In like in the comics, there was that giant dreaming one that was in San Francisco that was gold. Obviously, during Judgment Day, there was that other one that they created. But essentially, Eson is important. I think Eson is referred to as like the Searcher or something like that. But anyway, in the comics, or as revealed in the Blood of Apocalypse arc from X-Men in the early 2000s, the arc where Apocalypse turns Polaris and Gambit and Sunfire into Horsemen, we get sort of this flashback of Eson, of all the Celestials, being in contact with Apocalypse and basically giving Apocalypse his like mission as it was established at the time. That was why he had this mission of survival of the fittest, because he was given like this celestial power from Eson to like you know do the survival of the fittest stuff. Obviously, in more recent things, it's sort of become more of a thing about his family, and we all know from Krakoa, but back then it was about celestial stuff. So clearly, this is Eson getting in contact with Professor X and sort of basically telling him that, Apocalypse can't be stopped. He will be chosen to be the sort of harbinger of um, apocalyptic destruction, I suppose, and survival of the fittest. Something along those lines. Yeah, that was the main thing I wanted to pick out from this moment, is that is that is not Apocalypse. The voice is not Apocalypse. It is actually Eson the Celestial, who is important because he gave Apocalypse celestial power and the celestial armor and whatever other celestial stuff that Apocalypse has. So yes. Um, After that though, Professor X is like all like drained. That was clearly very tough on his mind and his body. And so all the X-Men are going back to their secret little hideout. But then we discovered that Bal and N7 have discovered their secret hideout. um, uh-oh. And so obviously Bal is very happy because he's like, ah, look, I knew I shouldn't have trusted you. And Summoner is sort of heartbroken. He's confused. He sees this thing and he's like, why are you hoarding what we were trying to destroy? You're trying to create a weapon, clearly, and you've lied to me. Like, I thought I could trust you because we were all mutants together, and you've lied to me. How could you? So it's Dunzo for for Magneto and Summoner. And Summoner's not happy at all that he's been lied to, and so well, while Magneto tries to explain like, oh no, I can explain, but before he can do that, they had Logos on a with them on a leash sort of thing, and Apocalypse just completely chops off his head, and the blood spatters all over Magneto. Now, this feels like a reference to something, like a film reference or a TV reference, and I can't pinpoint it. But like I've seen this image of someone like, and then the blood getting on someone's face. Oh, it feels. Oh, no, it's probably not a reference to this, but it feels to me the thing that I think of when is like The Boys. And that happens a lot where someone gets covered in blood from that. But yeah, very that. Um, so yeah, so essentially, it's over. Magneto tried his best trying to stop Apocalypse from having, trying to hold his rage in, but just trying that has made it even worse. And so they fight. There's a whole load of fighting. Now you might be wondering, spoilers, you might be wondering, well, where's Bishop? Forwards traveled to the future and was right there. But Bishop, where's Bishop been all this time? Turns out he was undercover as a sandstormer for who knows how long, it's not even clarified. And he's there just in the nick of time to sort of turn the tides because they're sort of outnumbered by their sandstormers. So he shows up and like shoots Bal and hits Bal and he gets knocked out. So Apocalypse is like super angry, super pissed because he's like, that's my dad. Uh, and so, Apocalypse is raging, absolutely raging. And they get more fight. And Apocalypse starts. He doesn't actually grow in the Rise of Apocalypse. He like grows massive by the end, in the rage. But he like is just going crazy. Absolutely crazy. Meanwhile, though, there was like a what do you call it? There was like a tracker, I'm going to say, in Logos. His eye is flashing, which is very interesting, and that alerts um, Ramatut to the location of Apocalypse. And what does he do with that information? Well, he fires like a space rocket. A space rocket nuke sort of thing that pinpoints exactly where they are because they're hidden somewhere like in a mountain. And so this rocket fires, and while they're all still fighting, well, they're fighting, but Bishop manages to knock out Apocalypse for the time being. And then Bishop's like, okay, I've got these time bands. We need to leave right now. Okay, I've got these things. We can all go back. We just need to go now. But before they can do that, this giant rocket nuke thing hits exactly where they are and explodes. And that's where we're left. To be continued. Because obviously, this is Rise of Apocalypse Part 1. So next week's episode is going to be Part 2. Part 2, everyone. Which is, crazy cliffhanger. Are they dead? Well, uh, not to spoil anything or anyone, but I think we all know that they're not really dead. How are they going to get out of this, though? I am curious. And obviously, there's a a whole another episode. So clearly they didn't time travel back, because I feel like what else would be the point? Um, so yeah, interesting. But yeah, that is essentially it. I will say as well, I've realized I forgot to mention this. The reason Ramatat is trying to kill Apocalypse is because he's from the future. Well, in the comic, anyway, because he was in the future, Ramatat knows about, Apocalypse being this major mutant leader, blah blah blah. So he part of the reason why he went to the past is that he wanted Apocalypse to become his heir. So if he can control Apocalypse, then he's sorted for life. But then in the comic, he doesn't manage to control Apocalypse, obviously. So then he just wants to get rid of him. And I think that's part of what he's trying to do. Now, I don't know what Kandra has got to do with any of that, but there we go. So yeah, so essentially it's left on this cliffhanger. Crazy way to end that. But yeah, so I have a feeling that everyone is gonna be okay, somehow, but I don't know how. Um, and I'm very curious to see what else happens there. I when I was setting this up earlier, I was thinking, I guess because in the Rise of Apocalypse miniseries, of the X-Men don't time travel back. That's never been a thing. The only time that's ever happened is like, oh my God, Apocalypse Wars. If people remember from the live stream I did with Crisis, Apocalypse Wars was one of the events I asked to be included because it had the sort of um the the same branding as Fall of the Mutants. But the all new X-Men team at the time, so this was 2016 era, they go into the past, and Evan Sabanor is as well, and they go into the past and they meet young Apocalypse. So even before this point, but really the X-Men have never really time traveled back to this time period, but the Fantastic Four have. So I'm assuming that that's sort of where the idea came from for this episode. But yeah, so that's pretty much the episode. Thought it was fun, as we sort of said in the beginning. I don't think it continues the hype of episode 2, but obviously we need to like deal with the other timelines. I have a feeling like the main timeline is gonna just be what I enjoy the most. Um, but I mean, I don't know how much longer we'll have with the other timelines before we go back to the present. Oh, why is the camera moving so much? I'm not even touching it, and it's this camera focus is focusing crazy. Let me go back through the comments, and while I do that, everyone let me know what you'd rank this episode out of 10. If I think back, I think I said episode 1, rank it 8. Episode 2, rank it like 9.5, close to 10. This one, I'm gonna probably say 7.5. But I'm very curious on everyone else's thoughts, so let me know, and I'll go through the comments. That was a terrible excuse. They're literally in the past making things up. Yeah, like they've already changed things. Like I really don't think a bit of telepathy is gonna end the world. Professor X could be the ultimate villain sometime. Well, yeah, I think maybe that's again season 3. I think Onslaught will be season 3. Though I'm pretty sure I saw a thing from Bodemail, obviously former showrunner, so not involved anymore. But he said his original plans for season 2 were like Age of Apocalypse and Onslaught. So unless, hmm. Oh, and talking about Onslaught, actually, I don't have the photo on me, but if you look at the original, at like the cover image, the new sort of one of the new images, it's the one with like the future team, so Wolverine, Jean, Cyclops. It's the image I use for the breakdown of episode 1 for season 2. It's like it's copied it's copied the like positions and everything of X-Men Alpha as in the first issue of the Age of Apocalypse. So clearly there's some Age of Apocalypse influence in this season, obviously because it's all about Apocalypse. So I wonder whether the end of this season might be like Age of Apocalypse, and then we'll end that. You know. Oh, and then when you were talking about that, that was going to be my question. Going purely off the episode titles, it seems that the Apocalypse title will be wrapped up soon. If that's the case, who do you think the overarching big bad would be? Danger or Onslaught? See, I don't think Danger is going to be the big bad. I think she might. I think she's going to turn up in. Let me move that out of the way. I think she's going to turn up in whatever episode she is going to turn up in, and I think she might go away, much like in sort of Astonishing X-Men, where she was there and then she left, and then she was in space and was there with the whole bullet thing. I don't know if that's going to be there. Maybe she'll come back for season 3 and be rehabilitated or whatnot. Um, I agree. I don't think Danger is the big bad. I couldn't remember Isom was a Celestial. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know too much about the Celestials. I know the Dreaming Celestial. I know Tiamat. Is that the Judgment one? What's the Judgment one that isn't the Progenitor? And then obviously the Progenitor, and I guess Isom. Literally forgot about Bishop until he appeared. Yeah, like it kind of like slipped my mind, but then I thought, well, where is he? You know, Forge just appeared right at the right time, and he didn't. Now we're getting to the ranking, 7.5 out of 10. All good. This would be an 8 out of 10. Yeah, but we still got it as an executive producer. That's true. I think they've kept most of the storylines, but he said things had changed, which I think they probably had because obviously he was gotten rid of before episode 1 of season 1 began, so they've had 2 years to alter things, but obviously his ideas and some of his scripts are still there. But again, I think season 3 will be completely Beau DeMayo free. So that'll be a very interesting test of things. Before I forget, because we're talking about, I don't know why I always forget to do this. Um, make sure if you've enjoyed the video, and if you haven't enjoyed this live stream, make sure you go like it, because that means good things. I think that means more people can this will be shown to more people, and hopefully more people see it, and blah blah blah. So if you've enjoyed the live stream so far, please give it a thumbs up. Give it the biggest thumbs up you can, I suppose. Okay, I have homework. Read up on Celestials and the Rise of Apocalypse Mini. Yes, Nick, I'd say the Rise of Apocalypse Mini is like much like Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix was the sort of the basis of the first episode. That this Rise of Apocalypse is going to be the sort of inspiration for this episode. Obviously, it's not going to be a 1-for-1, as we discussed. Like Nefri and Ozymandias aren't here, but Ramatat is, Apocalypse is, Logos and Val are, so there's going to be some sort of crossover there. So I guess if you want a bit more clarity on what could be happening, that would be the way to go. So yeah, anyone got any thoughts now that we are at the end of the 3 episodes, and now we like, I don't know, anyone got any thoughts on what will happen in episode 4? Obviously, it's going to be Rise of Apocalypse Part 2, so we're clearly going to stay in the past. Anyone got any theories or suggestions about what will happen in the next episode? How are they going to survive? That's one thing. How do we think they're going to survive that the ancient nuke? There was a rumor that he put out that they struggled to rewrite the season after Disney very publicly stripped him of his credits, so they went back to his original scripts. Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know if I can complain about that more because, well, I know I have my issues with the show, and like I don't think he should be. The allegations on that. I'm fine with him not being involved anymore, but I don't want to diminish. He obviously had some influence and probably some positive influence. I don't agree with all of his opinions. His feelings towards Emma clearly show in the way Emma appears in the thing. But yeah, interesting, interesting. I mean, I think they said that they're bringing on the writer of What If. I only watched the first season of What If. I didn't watch season 2 or season 3. Um, and I think they've also brought back the original producers of um, the original show. So it's going to be interesting. I think we might, unfortunately, I mean, I don't think, obviously there's a lot of influence from directors and other writers and whatnot. I'm just hoping that as we get further on and go to season 3, obviously, they publicly stated that season 3 is going to be coming out next year. Like they're already recording voice lines for season 3, so they want to get this out quicker and quicker, which is good. I love that. 2 years was a long wait, but we'll see. Onslaught in the next episode would be big. Yeah, that would be big. Only that past and present will collide somehow. Again, I'm still stuck on the thing of in episode 1, do we think future Apocalypse, when he left whatever after Ozzy managed to him, did he go? Was he time traveling? Was that what happened? I don't know. How does he feel about Emma? Well, from what I remember on tweets, he is a massive Gene Scott fan, which that's all good. Like, I'm not a believer of the Stan Wars and whatnot, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I remember Bodemeo saying that he didn't really like Revolutionary Cyclops, and that also he blamed Revolutionary Cyclops on Emma, and that it was Emma's influence that led him to this bad path, right? Which I think is also crazy. I'm sure there's been some other things he said as well. I can't pinpoint off my top of my head, but really in the show, the thing that speaks to me is in episode 7 from the first season, as I discussed, I think in a previous live stream, we said that instead of Emma walking out as she did in the comics, Jean lifted her out, which I just feel like felt very stealing. Not all these are fictional characters and whatnot, but like very much taking Emma's moments and giving them to other characters, and that happened again with they had the whole cheating thing with Maddie and Jean and Scott instead of Scott and Emma and Jean. Also, it looks like Emma won't really be involved that much with the whole danger thing. We'll see, but yeah, just that's sort of the vibe I get about Emma. But we'll see. Maybe things will be different. I can't believe it was 2 years. That flew by for me. Yeah, I know, like over 2 years as well, because the first season came out in March of 2024. The first season came out while Krakoa was still alive. That's crazy. And like I literally remember the episode the episode 6, the one where Storm gets the powers back, came out the same day as Fall of the House of X 4. So yeah, that's how long it is. How long it's been. We've had a whole like 2 eras of this new post-Krakoa time in the time since season 1, which is crazy. Is Gambit returning later on? Oh, 100%. 100%. Like, if you remember, in episode 2, Psylocke had that memory from War's head that they kidnapped a casket, a coffin. That's clearly going to be clearly was Gambit's coffin. So I think Gambit shall be returning as Death at some point in the later season, but maybe at the end. I feel like, if I remember correctly, I didn't really pay much attention. I think the final episode is called Survival of the Fittest. So I think we might get a final Apocalypse showdown at the very end, but we'll see. Oh, that's right. I didn't even pick up on that. Swapping Emma for Maddie. Yeah, yeah. Like So they had it. They even had the bit of like obviously I rewatched it all recently with Lou to do and like reactions to set up for this season, and Jean even says like, "What are you doing in my husband's mind?" Or, "Oh, you don't need to explain." So whatever the line is, you oh you don't have to explain this to me or something like that. Whatever the line is when Jean walks into the room, Jean says that in that episode when she finds Maddie and Scott together. But obviously, it's way more complicated in the episode because obviously Maddie was Scott's wife, so it was more complicated. And but they also like they literally just adapted that whole thing, and like they had Jean and Wolverine kiss as well. Yeah, I think we sort of forget about that moment because of all of the Genosha stuff like overshadows it. But yeah, so I'm all swapped out for that. Um, like I said, Emma doesn't seem that like we've got all the Generation X kids in the last episode, but I don't. There's nothing about that showing up at the moment. But there we go. What do you think about the rumors that this current era is being rebooted after current books hit their 10th issue? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we have the DNX series event coming out in September, so I bet come January we'll get our third era. But maybe we'll see. I feel like though, you know, X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, they've been solicited up to like issue 40. So I feel like they might get them to 50 and then we'll start again from there maybe. We'll see. But like this is like the longest we've ever had an X-Men and an Uncanny X-Men book run simultaneously since, well, they're gonna surpass the Bendis eras now. Because Bendis Uncanny got to, I want to say 35. So yeah, we're about to surpass that really for these books, which is crazy. But there we go. But yeah, so that's pretty much it with the episode. I don't know if there's anything else that I've forgotten about. I don't think. Anything else from anyone in the comments that feel like we haven't discussed? I mean, it was pretty light. It was also pretty light on cameos. Um, really, the main cameos was Candra, and we discussed her. So, yeah, I think it would be so interesting though if, because we've seen Candra, we will be introduced to the rest of the externals at some point. I would love if Celine was in the show. I would love that. Celine and Gideon and the others that I can't remember the names of. Nicodemus, Absalom, Burke. I'm trying to remember them often. You know, Cannonball. No, Cannibal is not an external, even though they thought he was. But yeah, very interesting that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if there's anything else we need to cover. Cruel. Yes, Nick. Cruel. Another one. I'm pretty sure there's like 11. I feel like I'm missing. Yeah, you know, they just never been real big characters other than like the four main ones are um, Celine, Apocalypse, Gideon, and Kandra. Can we go back to episode 2 for a second? Any excuse to go back to episode 2 because that was the best one in the end. I really like that Betsy was actually English. She wasn't in the OG show. I think she might have actually. I think she might have. I don't. Well, her accent was not as pronounced. Was not as obviously British, but I think she might have been because I did when I was doing my trailer breakdown for for season when the trailer dropped. I rewatched the episode where it was the end of time and whenever Apocalypse like kidnaps all the psychics at the end of season 4. But anyway, and in that she fights Warren and she does say, um, my brother helps mutants." So clearly that was a Captain Britain reference. But yes, she's very clearly English in this in the episode. And as Crisis was asking me yesterday when I did the breakdown about, you know, if I could pinpoint what regional accent she had, and I was like, no, I just know she very clearly had an English accent. Like at points it was really posh, like really like RP, but then at other points she kind of there was one line again. I need to go back and listen to it, but there's one bit where she really like dropped some of the she didn't pronounce everything as clearly as like as as posh um as a posh accent would, and I just love that. But yeah, it was a very clear English accent, which is fun. And I think Betsy, alongside Jubilee, was the real like standout from that episode. Like the the action was great. The way the powers were visualized were just amazing. Yeah, the whole thing was really good. Um, and I think they really captured the whole like Betsy is this. Whereas like Cameron is more she's a skilled person, but she doesn't she's very more she's skilled, but she's very serious. Whereas this Betsy, she had that seriousness in her, but there was a bit of like a fun streak in her as well. So yeah, thought that was really good. Really surprising though that when she started speaking in the end of the first episode, I was so surprised. I did not expect it to actually be Betsy. Who knows? What if season 3 we get the unbody swap? Imagine, imagine, imagine. Anyway, yeah, that's that. But yeah, Sherlock MVP. I'm really excited for when we do get back to the present, and I hope we get more focus, or we get to develop more things with the X-Force team, because that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that, and I actually didn't hate Sunspot. So yeah. Please no, please no what, Logan? As in, please no to the unbody swap. Is that what you're knowing? But yeah, I mean, we already saw Spiral. We already saw Spiral in this in the um in the show. She's been in X-97, so maybe we'll get like a flashback episode to when the body swap happened. You know? No, I think that's just too. I don't think they'll ever like. Um, I don't think they'll at least in the show. I don't think they'll try and address it. It's just too complicated. Um, too confusing. I say that they managed to explain Maddie clear enough. She is a clone of Jean. Bing bong. So, but maybe that's just me. I feel like the whole Betsy canon thing is not that difficult to explain. It's just like, oh, she was in this body, she was in this body, then they swapped bodies, and then this one, in the other body, she died. And then she came back and they swapped back. Bing bang bosh. You know. Um, but yeah. So I think that's everything. We've gone way off topic to the episode at hand. But that was pretty much everything for Rise of Apocalypse Part 1. Thank you everyone so much for joining me. It is now 20 to 1 and I have to be up at 8 o'clock. So that's going to be fun. Because I am performing again tomorrow from 10 till 5. Lots of fun, lots of fun. But yes, I've had lots of fun with this as well. So thank you everyone for joining me. Next week, the live stream, because there's only one episode next week, thank God. It should be normal time on the Wednesday evening. I'm going to assume around 9 p.m., between 9 and 10 p.m. It just depends on when I get to watch the episode. I also have to react to the episode and film that reaction. Then I will want to rewatch the episode as well. Make sure I get all the screenshots of the episode and prepare everything for this. So yeah, but it will be next Wednesday night at some point. Will post the link to the stream a few hours in advance, like I normally do. So hopefully I will see you all next week at some point. But I hope you all have a great Friday night. I hope you'll have a great weekend. Thank you, Logan. I hope it goes well as well. I think it's where I'm down to the last 4 now. The tour is almost done. But thank you all. I hope you all have a good night, and I will see you in the next live stream, I suppose. Or I'll see you if people are there in Crisis's stream at the weekend. Should hopefully be there. But yeah,